You should apply for multiple scholarships. Anybody who assumes that they will get the scholarship they apply for is either very talented or very deluded. And you can't defer the Rhodes Scholarship. There has been some capacity to do that for medical students, but no. So you can't apply to beat the 25-year-old deadline and then do it later.
So Ditto, you can't defer a Menzies scholarship. We encourage you to apply for many scholarships. However, you will be asked in your interview what you've applied for, where the stage is at. You can't hold another scholarship at the same time as a Menzies scholarship.
Same with Endeavour, you have to start in 2015 before the 30th of November. You can't defer. You can apply for as many scholarships as you want, but you can't actually be receiving another scholarship that has Australian government funding when you're receiving an Endeavour scholarship or fellowship, or have had a previous Endeavour scholarship or fellowship in the category that you're applying for.
Slightly different answer. Our scholarship is non-exclusive, and we offer what in some cases is an inadequate amount of money. So $60,000 sounds an awful lot, but your fees in Oxford may all be $50,000, your fees in Harvard may all be $70,000 or $80,000. So we have no problem with you applying for multiple scholarships. We have no problem with you holding multiple scholarships, because that may be the only way you can get the money. And we don't have any problem with people deferring uptake of their scholarship. We need to make a case for it, but the reality is that if you win one of our scholarships, we love you to death, and we'll probably do whatever you ask us to.
You just can't have a scholarship that is a government-funded scholarship, basically, when you apply for Endeavour. You can't be receiving Australian government scholarship funding at the same time. So I'm talking about any scholarships that are funded by DFAT, Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, which was previously known as an AusAid scholarship, or you can have like a APA or an IPRIS. You would obviously need to adhere to the conditions placed on those other scholarships.
The reality is that most of the prestigious overseas universities will gladly accept your entrance, but will not confirm your place until you can confirm that you've got some kind of funding. So what actually happens is you apply for the scholarship on the basis that you intend to go to Oxford or Harvard, but you will not yet be in that institution, and we're completely comfortable with that. As a matter of fact, we ask you to nominate a couple of choices just in case you don't get in, or if when you win the scholarship you have a further thing and say, well, actually this other place may better suit my needs. But you certainly don't have to have been accepted into an institution to apply for and be awarded the scholarship.
So, yes.
You can apply for Endeavour, certainly. We ask for your undergrad transcripts, and we probably go more off those with your subjects and scores. You also include your master's transcripts, but the selection panel would look as a whole and in conjunction with all the other selection criteria as well. So not just academic achievement, but a whole range.
That's where referees come in. We all ask for referees, and I think almost all the foundations and scholarships would want an academic referee, and the question that we ask of the referees is this woman capable of doing postgraduate study at the institution she's nominated? And I'm quite sure that your MFA supervisor or whatever it may be would then attest to your ability.
General agreement along the line with that?
Yeah, that's the same for Menzies Foundation. We ask for 4 referees, 3 academic, 1 personal, and that's how we would take that information as well.
And we don't use academic qualifications as part of our selection criteria. So it's not relevant for Churchill Fellowships. Yes, you can, and that would be discussed at the panels as to whether or not your intent really is to complete your PhD by doing the travel as opposed to furthering the project. So it's a very fine line. So we don't simply say that if you're studying your project field, you cannot apply for a Churchill. We just say that not eligible to receive a fellowship if it's to further your study or to complete your study. So it's a very fine line, and really it's up to the selection panels to determine whether or not the project is taking precedent. Well, certainly with the Churchill Fellows, all we expect is passion. That's it, passion in the project, and we can tell quite clearly someone who has selected a project in order to obtain a Churchill Fellowship as opposed to someone who has a passionate project that they wish to pursue, and it's quite clear in the interview process the level of passion and knowledge is outstanding for someone who is genuine about their project.
And so I think that is an interesting question, because there are a lot of very good people, and obviously you want to give yourself the best chance in the project, in the applications. One thing that I would say is start your application early. Spend some time. Don't do the last rush minute job where paragraphs bump up against each other in no particular order and it's just one thing after another. Try and think about the narrative you're telling in something like a personal statement for the roads. I would expect that would be something you'd look at and draft and redraft and put in a desk drawer for a while and come back to it and really think about it. But think about how a group of strangers who don't know you are going to be able to read this and get a good sense of who you are. And some of the little things for the interviews, like reading the papers, talking about current affairs with friends, family, whoever it is that you can get to do that. Practicing saying these things out loud, including talking about yourself out loud. Because some people, and it can be quite sort of touchingly modest, but stumble a little bit in trying to articulate what's good about them. And other people, perhaps also feeling a bit overwhelmed by it, might come across as very pushy. So just trying to find ways of talking about yourself, your vision, what you want to do, how it's going to benefit others, in a way that is the real you, is as authentic as possible in very difficult circumstances. And again, I'll just reiterate that the panel is looking for the best in you, so don't get too worried if you feel like you've slipped up a little bit or used the wrong word in some context or something like that. It doesn't have to be an absolutely completely polished package.
Just add to that, in my experience, the most polished sometimes are the most removed from the process. So because there is that passion doesn't come through in the conversation. So don't feel that you have to be scripted like you're presenting a speech when you come, because if you know what you want to do, why you want to do it, how it's going to benefit you and the broader community, and you can speak to that time and time again, then that will present itself very positively. And sharing some of your personal journey, which you may be asked, is terribly rewarding for the panel. It can be too.
You would apply as an Australian applicant.
Yeah.
You've got permanent residency in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd apply as an Australian. You're outgoing.
Certainly the John Moran scholarships we look afresh at your proposition, and you may have a PhD already and be saying, well, I can build a case to say that another PhD would be valuable to Australia in this particular field, which may be different from one that I've done already. Certainly in the 98 scholarships we've awarded over the last few years, we've certainly done masters to people who've already got PhDs, and PhDs who've got masters. Pretty old when you have a couple of PhDs and pretty tired. So think about that.
Similarly with the Endeavour scholarships and fellowships, it doesn't matter if you've had 10 PhDs and you're enrolled in another PhD and you want to go overseas and do some more research, that's fine. But obviously, that's not an issue with us.
Same. As long as it's adding value to what you're intending to do, then it wouldn't be exclusion.
Not an exclusion as such for the roads, but to be able to do that and be under the age of 25 would be fairly impressive in all the circumstances.
And no.
It's a long-term research fellowship, so it's from 1 to 2 years to go and do some research overseas. For females only, we're looking for a high-achieving female. to contribute to women's leadership. So the field of study is anything. It can be any field of study. But we want to see your passion that you're contributing to leadership in women. And that's basically what it is really. So if you're particularly interested in that one, you can come and chat to me and I can give you more information. Well, there's information on the website and it's going to be the same information that I'll give you anyway.